All right, so let's look at some other glands. So next is the pineal gland. Now I've already talked about the pineal gland, so here's the location of the pineal gland. It produces one hormone that's called melatonin, and melatonin is our sleep hormone. So its levels are highest while we're sleeping, lowest during the midday, and it affects our circadian rhythm or our wake-sleep cycle. As I already mentioned before, it is inhibited by light. So if you have light coming in, that's going to inhibit your secretion of melatonin. You'll have a tendency to wake up earlier. All right, next let's go to the thymus gland. So we can see there's the thymus gland there. This is a bilobe gland that's found above the heart. All right, and what it does is it produces two hormones called thymosin and thymopoietin. And those cause the development of a particular type of cell called a T lymphocyte. Now lymphocytes are our immune cells. And a T lymphocyte is an even more specific lymphocyte, and that's a type of lymphocyte that attacks directly microorganisms. All right? Now, our thymus gland, because it is involved in immunity, is much larger in us as children than we are as adults. Because once we're born, anything that we encounter is brand new to us, and we have to develop immunity too. As we age, we come across less and less new stuff, so we have less and less new immunity to develop. All right, so you can see there's the thymus in the newborn, really large, much smaller in the adult. Okay, let's move on to the thyroid gland. So the thyroid gland is found here in the lower part of your neck. All right, and the thyroid gland produces a couple hormones. One is thyroid hormone. So the thyroid hormone is produced by these follicle cells here, and it is stored in the colloid. Now, these follicle cells, they produce thyroid hormone, but it's actually two hormones. It's thyroxine, which is known as T4, and triiodothyronin, which is known as T3. The numbers there indicate the number of iodine atoms in those molecules. All right? So what it does is that thyroid hormone increases our basal metabolic rate, our metabolism, okay? It also stimulates enzymes concerned with glucose metabolism, and it also is a regulator of tissue growth and development. We can also produce body heat from this. So if thyroid hormone increases in cold weather, we can produce what is known as non-shivering thermogenesis. So producing heat without shivering. So it's going to increase our heart rate, our respiratory rate. It's going to stimulate our appetite. It's going to promote alertness and bone growth. And it stimulates growth hormone secretion. And as I said earlier, it's stored in the colloid. There's a couple of symptoms that can arise from having not enough or too much thyroid hormone. One is myxedema. This is a low production of thyroid hormone, so hypothyroid syndrome. So here, these people are going to have a low metabolic rate. They're going to be chilled, constipated. They're going to have dry skin, puffy eyes. They're going to be lethargic and mentally sluggish. A lot of times this is caused by just having low iodine in the diet, and this can lead to this, which is a goiter. It's in a large thyroid gland. And so the thyroid cells eventually burn out on this. So this person also shows a goiter, not as large. Next is cretinism. This is hypothyroidism in infants. This can lead to mental, so hypothyroidism in infants. This can lead to mental retardation and short, disproportioned body. Next is Graves' disease. This is hyperthyroidism, and this is overproduction of thyroid hormone. This is an autoimmune disease. Here you're producing antibodies that mimic thyroid stimulating hormone. So you produce a lot more thyroid hormone than what you need. In actuality, you can develop a goiter here because you don't produce enough thyroid hormone for what the antibodies are trying to make you have. So you're going to have an elevated metabolic rate, you're going to have sweats, rapid breathing, nervousness, and you're also going to get weight loss here. And this is one of the conditions that we see on the right side, and this is called exophthalmos. And you can have these protruding eyeballs, which is what exophthalmos is. Okay. Another Another hormone secreted by our thyroid gland, which you can see there's still our thyroid gland, is calcitonin. And this is produced by the parafollicular cells. So this is a follicle from our thyroid gland. These cells in between those follicles are the parafollicular cells. So calcitonin helps regulate our blood calcium ion levels. All right, and its overall effect is lowering blood calcium ion levels. And it does so by inhibits osteoclast breakdown blood, so that would release calcium into the blood. And it stimulates osteoblasts, so it pulls that calcium out of the blood. It also increases of calcium ions by the kidneys. All right, let's look at the parathyroid glands. You can see these parathyroid glands here on the back side of the thyroid gland. They produce one hormone known as parathyroid hormone, or PTH. Parathyroid hormone is an antagonist of calcitonin. Both of those are used to regulate our blood calcium ion levels. So its overall effect is to increase our blood calcium ion levels at the same time to decrease our phosphate ion levels in our blood. So what it's going to do is it's going to stimulate osteoclasts. By doing that, that's going to release calcium and phosphate into the blood. It's going to inhibit osteoblasts, which would remove those things from the blood. It's going to enhance the reabsorption of calcium ions and the excretion of potassium ions, phosphate ions in the kidneys. It's also going to cause our kidneys to activate vitamin D, and vitamin D is required for calcium ion absorption by the small intestines. So we absorb more calcium ions from our diet. Now, calcium is necessary for nerve impulses, muscle contractions, and blood clotting.